This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishi K.
Well, I have to say this. I am absolutely stunned at seeing Love Sonia. And I wish that all of you, and it's very important that you go and see it because it's a very important film. I'm pleased to welcome the ladies who have made my viewing experience so wonderful. Freida Pinto, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Saie, Tamhankar, wonderful to see you. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Hrishi?
Excellent. And Mrunal, you're such a star.
Oh, thank you.
I really think that this is a film that's going to take a little bit of digesting. I mean, I saw it at INOX and I literally stood up and took a couple of minutes because I was so stunned, and I slowly got out of that zone and then I came back into reality. Is that the reaction you're seeing at most places? People
Absolutely.
are unsettled and then they take some time to get back.
I think for some people even a day is not enough. They really need the time to digest it, to even comprehend that this actually happens in their own backyards. And whenever we've had these screenings in America, specifically in Los Angeles, I think it hits them the most. And I won't obviously give away completely and wholly why now, but there's something at the end of the film that will really strike home. It's the same thing that you and I discussed earlier about you see a container very differently at the end of the film for the rest of your life.
Well, I was just saying to her, and we're not going to get into why, but I will never look at a container the same way at a port.
Yes.
You know, you always think, oh my God, you know what's inside? Is there petrol? Is there cars? Having said that, I've always looked at you, Sai, in cinema and say, they give you a sari and you suddenly age. Very beautifully so. Very beautifully so. Have you been told that often? Yeah, that it adds a few years in a good way.
Yeah, I think I'm a chameleon, yes, and it works for me. So yeah, I'm glad. Yeah.
I like that you describe it as a chameleon. It's not really a nice part to play, but then these are the demands of being an actor. I wouldn't like Rashmi is the name, right? What's her name?
Anjali,
yeah. So I wouldn't like to befriend Anjali. Rashmi is Freida's character. So when it was first narrated to you, was it Tabrez who came to you and narrated to you? What were your first reactions on listening to what he thinks about Anjali?
well, I was like, whoa, this is good news and bad news. Bad news because I had to constantly convince Saie that you are not bad. It's Anjali she's a survivor and she would do whatever it takes to survive. She might do bad things, she might do things which are not logical, ethical, but that's the kind of person she is, and you don't get to play such characters every day. So yeah, I think the survival instinct of hers attracted me to the character.
Well, it looks like your screen test is going to go viral. It's not often. Have you seen a screen test from Slumdog? Is it still with you? Is it somewhere? Did they put it out?
I don't think I've seen my screen test, but just like Mrunal will tell you her story, I had 6 months of auditioning to go through.
Wow.
So I'm sure there are many versions of my screen test, right from when I first did it with Lovely and Tandon, who was the casting director of the movie, to the every month doing it, sometimes twice a month, auditioning again and again with Danny Boyle. So just like Mrunal had to go through a very
So was
grueling
this a
process.
good one we saw? Was it the better ones?
Was it the first one?
It was the first one. I remember me wearing yellow kurti because yellow is my favorite, and I always wear that kurti when it comes to audition. But the fact that Tabrez he came across as a very constructive personality, very calm personality he's such a firm and a passionate director. He knew what he wanted. And the fact that it took me around 7 to 8 months to convince that I am his Sonia, that drove me towards that character even more. When the moment I entered and I saw my name in the option list, I was like, Mrunal, are you serious? Please pull up your socks and give your best, because I got that, you get that there's this inner voice that keeps telling you that no one can play Sonia better than you. So I made sure that I get the part. I told Tabrez that Tabrez, even if you don't cast me as Sonia, just make sure that I'm spot boy or an invisible person. I'll wear the Mr. India thing and I'll be just around wandering around, because I wanted to hang out with these people. They're nominated Academy Award winners, and the pattern, and especially this concept is so beautiful. I never thought that I would get a chance to play Sonia, and beautiful, strong, naive at the same time. Such a character, such a person who's not aware what the world is all about, and it's all about manipulation, and she becomes the victim at the same time. How she come across as a survivor. So for me, that journey was amazing. After that, today, even I have to go meet someone, I don't trust that person easily, because what if that person is like Anjali?
Thank God you said Anjali and not Saie.
Saie, you know what? The best thing is the chemistry that we have off screen is so impeccable. It's totally opposite. It's totally ulta. Freida, if I have any problem, I can just call her. It feels like, oh my God, so much love pouring in, and I feel I'm very blessed in that case.
And now you're a Hrithik Roshan heroine. Ooh. did you get that a bit? Or you're a James Franco heroine. Ooh.
I wouldn't like to be associated much with that, but maybe you should have said Christian Bale.
Yeah, maybe Christian Bale. Yeah.
Come on, Hrishi. But
There's so much to choose from as far as you're concerned.
But Hrishi, I'm certainly saying that I'm Frida's friend.
I was actually going to. I was going to ask her like, hey, who's your better co-star? Was it the question or was it us girls?
I actually like the scenes between Mr. Kher and yourself. The fact that, he is definitely the vile, evil character that he is, and you're almost like his friend or his wing woman, so to say. So tell me about those scenes. Where were they filmed? It looks like a very rundown Haveli kind of place.
We shot in Jaipur. And yes, it was. I think it was one of the initial scenes that we shot. I think it was my first day and first scene, and it takes a while for me to get into the skin of the character. And Mr. K told me, how long have you been working? I said almost a decade. He's like, you should take 30 seconds and you should be there. I said, wow, that's a very nice advice. I must practice it. So yeah, that's how it started.
And it went well.
Yes,
It went well, yeah.
It did.
really well.
In terms of your character, I went through different kind of emotions. First I thought, wow, nice girl, and then I said, what a
Nightmare.
a nightmare. And then at one point I thought, is she crazy? But she's obviously been through a lot, and she has a child. So just for you to get into that frame of mind, I believe you did actually. I mean, it's crazy that you would go to college at Xavier's, you would live in Milan, and you're at Xavier's and you're so close to the red light area. And you're not exposed to it, right? But you have to for the film.
Oh, absolutely. I think the couple of times that I went past the red light area, actually, one rainy day when our car broke down, we had no other choice but to walk through and wade through the water. We actually ended up going through ground floor, and that's my first ever experience. I was probably 12 years old. That was my first ever glimpse of what Mumbai's red light area looked like. And I was with my dad, my mom, and my sister. And there were women who were approaching my father, wondering if he wanted services that evening, and I was quite jolted by what I was seeing. Obviously, we walked past through it, but with this particular film, I feel it was very important for me playing Rashmi to embrace the complexity of her character. It's not just as simple as she gets into the brothel and she's sold over there, and then she just kind of, makes that her home. There's a certain, again, we're all talking about survivors. There's a certain survival instinct that comes up, and with Rashmi specifically, she doesn't want to be treated lesser than this new angel that has been walked in and has been given all the preferential treatment. She goes, absolutely no way. If I'm being treated as a whore, then you're a whore too. And so I think that survival instinct brings out, as you mentioned, the nightmare side to her as well. But of course, there are damages to all of them, and it's so easy for us to judge people as we go around the world. I mean, you just judge them by the cover. But there's so much more inside, and with Rashmi, I got to explore all these various layers. Which, by the way, Hrishi, I've got to be honest with you, as women in the film industry, we don't always get this opportunity where we can explore different layers. And I'm so glad that I'm not playing the Puritan woman, or I'm not playing the vamp. I'm just playing layers.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you on social media I got to see how your clothes were sourced in terms of your look and
Yeah.
things like that. I believe it was sourced from the area.
Absolutely. Tabrez did not want the clothes to feel in any which way that they were made just for this film, because again, like I have mentioned this before in many interviews, and I'll say it again, we've seen so many films on human trafficking and sex trafficking, and there's a certain stereotype that with the way they dress and the way they are that we always like fall into. But with this particular film, Tabrez did not want that. He's researched this subject matter for 15 years. So there is absolutely no way he was going to let this film not be authentic. So they put me in these. You've seen the film, They put me in these like crazy cycling, tiny little cycling shorts with
Which they
half
call
a-
slacks in the red light area.
they call slacks, yeah. And then which is like a ripped up top. In fact, Tabrez went even as far as letting Shahid, our costume designer, know that even get her bras, her undergarments need to be from what those girls would wear.
Well, you can wear whatever you want, but you still look beautiful.
Yeah, she does.
Mrunal, the story is also about siblings. I mean, in a lot of ways. I mean, there's the trafficking aspect, but the interplay between your character and Ria's character. I mean, your sisters, and at one point that goes drastically wrong. There's a lot of blame games thrown up and down, but the bottom line is you feel hugely responsible to find her and talk about that sibling relationship. The sisters.
Well, in that case, I must say this word manipulation plays a big, important role in even everybody's life. What happens? Two people come and they talk crazy things about, be it your sibling or your friend, and we believe it. That's where we are manipulated. The same thing happens with Sonia. She's been manipulated by so many people, and so is her sister. It's so difficult to tell you because the process when Ria and I, when we were doing scenes, it was very difficult for us to for a matter of fact, that there's one car scene which is it's very hard to explain, where she hates her sister, and that blame game is something, how Sonia copes up. Like, I actually didn't know how I'm going to react in the scene. So Tabrez is like, what do you feel? What would you do if your sister does that to you? And that's how everything it happened. It's so pure, I mean, I really didn't practice, or it just came so naturally, so organically. That's what I said, like, manipulation is the main important word. So now you have to be careful whom to trust, whom not to trust. So you should not get easily manipulated by people, because that's the thing which leads you to kind of unfortunate journey which you're not supposed to land up in.
Well, damn, Tabrez Noorani has just walked into the room, and Freida, I wanted to ask this question before he rolled in, but he has no option now. So we can't go behind his back. I mean, here are you. Look at the kind of directors you worked with. I mean, there's Woody Allen, for heaven's sake. There's Danny Boyle. There's Michael Winterbottom. There's Andy Serkis, all these guys. And I'm not saying who's better, because that's a grossly unfair question, but what is Tabrez Noorani's method when you compare it to all these other geniuses? I mean, he is a genius, there's no doubt about it. I see Love Sonia and I realize that.
Yeah.
But his method,
Yeah.
what is it?
See, I have my entire idea when I walked into a world that I had not much of an idea about how I was going to really plan my career. Right after Slumdog Millionaire, was the only trick to having a successful career is to work with the best filmmakers, is to work with the best storytellers. And if that was a decision that I made 10 years ago, Tabrez is pretty much part of that decision as well. One of the best storytellers that I have worked with, and no one will watch the film and be able to say that this is his first film. It's like he's been making films, feature films forever. He's been obviously working on commercials, and he's produced for many, many years. But when I think the method, to talk about that, it's very rare that you find a director who is ready for their first film, who has his vision so much in place, who knows what every scene, every frame is, what he wants it to look like. And that's, I think, what we experienced with Tabrez day in and day out. The authenticity was never taken for granted. I think we're all saying the exact same thing about the authenticity in this film. And at the same time, knowing that the subject matter of the film is so hard, and it's so dark, and it's so difficult, he never created an environment for his actors where we felt like we were walking into a dark, depressing movie. He made sure that for all of us, this environment let it have our creativity thrive, you know, and I think that was probably the best part. I'm actually getting very emotional even talking about this because this has been 10 years in the making. You know, I've known this man for 10 years and I can't wait to do more amazing stuff with him.
So, Tabrez, welcome to the show, and what a wonderful movie you made. And
Thank you so much.
so, I'm given to understand you're LA based, but you're basically a cathedral boy.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct.
A gallery of greats who've gone to that school, from Salman Rushdie to the owner of this station, Tariq.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Wow.
So
Yeah.
we could write books on people from Cathedral. So it must feel wonderful to be back in Bombay,
Oh,
isn't it?
look,
Just-
this is home. This is home. The truth is, I spent a lot of time over here. I think it wasn't Freddie Mercury also. Didn't he actually go to Cathedral at some point?
For a while, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yeah.
Anyway, I wasn't sure if that was a rumor. Anyway,
I like
No,
that little plug-in. I went to the same school as Freddie Mercury.
All geniuses.
No, but look, it's wonderful to be back. I love being able to shoot here. It's so comfortable. I know the city so well, which is also a large part of why we were able to shoot this movie and make it the way that we did.
Now, you know, we will come to all the serious stuff, but the fact of the matter is you couldn't be complaining surrounded by beautiful, intelligent women for all the days that you were filming. It must have been wonderful.
Well, wonderful because there's strong women, strong, passionate women, very talented. But I think that everyone was just from the beginning, apart from the fact that they were talented actresses, they just got the larger picture. And everyone came in with the right attitude, with the love for the subject. Obviously, for all of us, you know, we created family around us. It was a crew, people that were on Slumdog. So Freida knew them, I knew them, people that have worked with us for 10, 15 years. So it was just wonderful to be able to do that. And I'm very lucky to have fantastic cast, and Reach was missing, and so was Ria, but it really was. And the truth is, I mean, it was to be able to direct 3, 4 of them in the same scene together was a big high for me. You know, I mean, it was exhilarating.
Well, you know, since Manoj isn't here and Raj isn't here, I'd like you, Saie, to talk about them. I mean, they're both going through such a wonderful run. Manoj was here, in fact, last week, sitting in the same chair as you, talking about his Gali Guliya. Raj also, you know, was here for 3. But the fact that they're in this motion picture, and they're just doing stuff which they've not done before. So, just a little bit about Manoj, a little bit about Raj.
What do I say about
In
them?
the film.
They
in the
are.
film, yeah.
I think they are amazing. Raj Kumar has very little screen presence, but he plays a huge part in giving us hope and letting us know that there'll be light at the end. There will be light, and it's so assuring. It's so nice. Manoj, I've been a huge fan of Manoj Bajpayee. When I had to shoot a scene with him, I went to his vanity. I read out all the pointers that I've been, thinking for the scene. And he at the end of our scene, he did something which was not in the script, and that changed my reaction, and hence that changed the entire scene. I mean, yeah, you need to be fortunate to have such co-actors, such talented people around you, and I don't know how Tabrez pulled this off, but he has, and he has done it successfully.
And your producer, Womack, he worked on Life of Pi with you.
Well, he produced Life
He
of
produced
Pi,
Life of Pi.
and I was the line producer on the India section, and that's how we first met. And obviously, it's been a journey to get this movie made, because it's just been kind of me and my friends struggling to try and get it made. And at the end of Life of Pi, I gave him the script, and immediately he got it, and he'd seen a little bit of my work, and he said, "Listen," he said, "Let's do this. Let's make this movie the way that you want to. Don't water it down. Stay true to your subject. Find the best actors. We had no studio behind us. You don't need to pick any actor to get distribution. Go after the best actors." So again, just very fortunate, but that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It still took us a couple of years to get the money, and then get the movie made, and now finally we are.
But I do know that Hollywood works on email, not so much the Mumbai film industry. Like Manoj is very clear about the fact, saying that you can email me as many times as you want, but you've got to come and meet me and give me that physical copy of the script. And you had to do that, right?
I was here most of the time. again, with everyone, there was no narration. I don't know how to do that. Here's the script, and then you read it, and then we'll talk. And I think, and we did that. We got very lucky to be able to put together, be able to get Manoj, Raj, Kumar, Saie, in such a short time, because it was a quick prep, and we needed to shoot the movie. And so I was just very fortunate that everyone was slightly free. They responded to the subject matter, and we were able to get it done.
In my essential reading, I came across an article in the Man's World magazine where you talked about a girl who is trafficked, who you spend some time with to understand what they go through. Correct. Would you just go into the details of that without revealing her name, obviously, her identity, obviously?
This happened at the same time that I was starting the script, and I encountered a girl who was found in Los Angeles, who was an Indian girl who was trafficked in a container, and there were 6-7 girls in the container. Only 4 of them came out alive, and this girl was one of them. And she was an Indian girl, based on what they found on her. She had been in China, she had been in Calcutta, she had been in Mumbai, and Hong Kong. So this was an Indian girl who ends up in LA, and she's trafficked. That just didn't make sense to me, that I hadn't heard about global sex trafficking. And so that's what drew me to the world of global sex trafficking, and that's how I got involved with working with NGOs, spending time with girls, and then eventually doing rescues and brothels and working with them, doing rehabilitation. And through all those experiences came the real life stories that Love Sonia is based on.
Like in a lot of acting schools, like Lee Strasberg and stuff, they teach method acting.
Yes.
And I would imagine that if you got into method acting, you'd go nuts, and you have to be a little more instinctive. So what was your approach to playing Sonia? Especially these difficult scenes, the violent ones, the trafficked ones.
Yeah.
What was your approach?
Hrishi, you know what? I would like to give credit to my television background, because what happens in television, you have to switch on and switch off. There's some time where you're doing television, at the same time you're doing a Marathi movie, and that actually helped me to switch on and switch off. I never got into the skin of the character. Like see, after all, I'm an actor and I'm supposed to act. The moment if I get into it, I'll be depressed, and it'll take me time to come out of it. I remember when I did my research, it did affect me when I spent a couple of days in Sonagachi to know what their body language is, what their backstory is. But then I realized that if I have to be strong, what is important, I have to be mentally strong to play this character. If I'm not mentally strong, then I'll not be able to show that, on screen it would be, there'll be like a 19-20, 19-20 ka fark hoga, that's what they say. Thanks to my family, they're always there to support me. I don't think without a great support system I would have been able to do that. I really appreciate Tabrez, because the moment he used to say cut, everybody used to laugh, giggle, get back to normal, and they made sure that there is a laughter on set, because they wanted, every 20 minutes he would be like, you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And that, are you okay, made me feel so good. And I was like, wow, there's somebody asking me if I'm okay. I'm good. And we used to play pranks on set. Saie used to tell me that, Mrunal, focus.
It's not we, she's the drama queen, and she has got hidden talents. We'll show you what they are in a bit.
No.
What would they be, Mrunal? I'm very curious.
You wouldn't want to know. But honestly, trust me, it did affect me even till today, but in a good way. It has made me a better person. I'm little aware, I'm more cautious, I'm more I'm very vocal about it. Like if there is anything wrong that is happening in front of my eyes, I would take a stand against it. But initially I would be like, hey, chhod na yaar, why to bother? But now things have changed. Sonia has made me, people ask me, are you 30 years old, 31, 32? And I'm like, no, I'm 25, I'm 26. They're like, no, the way you talk, it makes you feel like, you're speaking to a mature woman. This is what Sonia has done to me. And my parents are like, dude, how did you manage to do that? I said, it's the characters. I never read textbooks in my life, but I loved reading my script like passionately, and I can learn my dialogues like this.
I have to say, I saw your Hunter, and you were so good in that. Gulshan and me go to the same physiotherapist. I remember telling him, "Who's that girl, man? She's so good." The normal course, and I have to hand this to Tabrez, is that you would think that a male character would play the quote unquote pimp, the person who's actually sourcing these girls, and here is your character was a female. And in that aspect, she's got to befriend the girls, make them feel secure, and then just to sell them away. So that couldn't have been easy to do, girls like Anjali.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. How did you approach the fact that you had to really befriend this girl?
Like I said, I had to constantly convince myself that it's not you, it's the character. And that's the prep that I had to do. That's the mental prep that I had to do because it was taxing. And honestly, when I met Mrunal, we hit it off almost instantly. So the care comes from that bond, and the harami-pun comes from my experience. I've been working for so long. I've been observing people. So I had to blend this. I had to, make a interesting combination of this. And thanks to Mrunal, if she wouldn't have been so nice, or I wouldn't have liked her, Anjali would have been different, I guess. But I like the way Anjali is. She's unpredictable. You don't know whether she's a nice person, and I think I love the crux of her character. It's on the edge. It's nice.
Freida, you must be so happy with how Indian cinema is evolving. I mean, even if you look at your debut in Slumdog and all these films that you've done, and now you're coming back home and you're doing this film. Are you keeping a keen eye on what's happening and the kind of movies that are happening? I mean, not just multiplex cinema, but even movies like Love Sonia and other subjects.
Absolutely, and I'm keeping a very keen eye and ear on what's happening in the script world as well, and how women are being written differently as well. In terms of how cinema is changing, I think a lot of credit has to be given to new platforms as well. Yeah. With the dawn of Netflix and Amazon, and I know that there are many. I've just learned in the last couple of days that there are many more national platforms that we have within India. I think it's giving creators a lot more of an opportunity to create the content that they've been wanting to create for such a long time, for writers who have these ideas and they've been sitting on these scripts and these treatments for such a long time, and then they finally now have a platform that will fund it. Having said that, it wasn't the easiest to have Love Sonia funded, and I've been, out of the 15 years, I've been part of that funding journey for almost 10 years. And I know that it wasn't easy, and so kind of sometimes still I feel like, yes, we are moving towards change, and it's gradual, but it's happening, so we have to celebrate that part of it. But in terms of the kind of stories that translate on a global level, Slumdog came out in 2008, 2009, and it's taking such a long time. The gap between the next film that translates to the entire world is taking such a long time. So hopefully these new platforms will shorten that, so that we have more content that is pushed out into the world and people are more brave to tell the stories. I'm actually very excited for Sacred Games.
No, but look at your body of work. Look at Night of Carbs.
Oh, you're talking about my body of work. I thought you were talking about work in...
No. This is just me saying that Tabrez and you are really our representatives in Hollywood.
Thank you.
You're doing us proud, and each time I see a Freida Pinto movie or a role, I'm extremely proud of what you're doing. I'm sure you girls echo that. Yeah.
Tell me that Mrunal, you are the next Freida Pinto, and I'm like, what? Wow, I really want to be like her. I look up to
Roshan
her.
heroine.
I don't think she's the next Freida Pinto. She's the next Mrunal Thakur, but she is definitely the future. And I have said this time and again, and I'm going to say it again. I am putting all my bets on this one girl, that she is going to break it. She's going to do what a lot of people haven't been able to do before. What even I haven't been able to do. She's going to do it.
Now you know why that chemistry on the screen is so perfect. This is it.
Now, before we sign off, I have to ask you. I have to have a fan moment here. I was a little boy when Top Gun came out. A massive Tom Cruise fan. What's he like? You did Ghost Protocol with him.
The truth is, I only ever met him once on the movie, and I have to say he was the nicest guy ever. Very conscientious, very particular, wanted to know exactly where the locations were, where we were shooting. So the nicest guy ever.
Well, he gave Slumdog a Golden Globe.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah,
He
he
gave it a-
gave it
But
out,
I
yeah.
was more obsessed with Shah Rukh Khan. I was like, Tom Cruise is on stage, but Shah Rukh Khan is in the audience.
How wonderful. All the best, all of you, and thank you for rolling by. Thank you so much.
Thank you.